Hello and welcome to the show. Today we're going to be looking at the more interesting statistics about entrepreneurship that people don't talk about online, and also kind of like the unsexy side of entrepreneurship. Now, I know this is not something that is directly sales and business development related. Aspire is not teaching you how you're supposed to validate your business idea, promote your business, those sorts of things. But I think it's something that is timely because I've seen some stuff about that on LinkedIn. And then apart from that, I'm from that generation where my older cousins are already crossing 50. The oldest in our family, that's in my own set, is already 55, 56. So, there are a bunch of us who are thinking, Omo, it's almost like half mark now. How far? Those sorts of things. So, yeah, these sorts of things come back every now and then. So I'm going to be sharing some statistics that I got from LinkedIn posts. I haven't verified these figures, so I'm going to leave that up to you. I'll put the figures out there, but I want to let you know the source of the figures so that you can go and check. Especially for those of you who have LinkedIn accounts, I'll give you the people's names. But before we head into it, the interesting statistics. Sorry about that. I hope my English teacher is not listening to this episode. The geek list, the nerd list for today. So today on the playlist, I'm listening to Scarface. Scarface is a southern. When I say southern, I mean southern America. I don't mean southern like Niger. So he's a southern thug rapper. He's considered like a pioneer in the rap game in the South, but he never achieved mainstream success. But for those of us who are kind of hip hop heads, he's like a Egbon, he's like a Shugaba, he's like a big bros, kind of that we listen to. So we pay attention to what Scarface is saying, even though Scarface was not on MTV, not on Sound City, not on any of those radio stations. So Scarface is a 1990s guy, let me put it that way. So when some of us were teenagers, this was some of the stuff that we would listen to. Then he's done impressive collaborations with, all kinds of people. Snoop Dogg has appeared on some of his songs. Let's see, who else? But he's not commercial success, not mainstream success. So if all you do is you listen to popular hip hop on Niger radio, then yeah, you definitely have never heard of Scarface before. But it's something worth listening to, especially for you young bloods. It's nice to know, just explore, and see that there's stuff before mumble rap. So if you consider yourself a hip hop head, you should be listening to stuff like Scarface. Consider the history of the art. See what has come before. It'll give you a greater appreciation for the development of the game. How people change the flow, how you switch up the flow, and it gives you a greater appreciation for where hip hop is today and where hip hop has come from. So, if you're somebody out there and you're considered, my wife considers me a geek, so if your boys consider you a geek because you listen to this kind of stuff, then please, by all means, let's geek up, let's nerd up, let's listen to our stuff. Oh, and by the way, girls, babes, you're also invited as well, because there are also fellow girls out there, hip hop heads, who geek out about these sorts of things. So if you haven't given Scarface a listen, Scarface on Spotify, just hook it up and enjoy. But some of his lyrics are, he doesn't use the F word a lot, but some of his lyrics are, heavy, socially conscious, heavy stuff, basically. So if you're going to be blasting it, just be mindful who you blast it around. So if maybe Popsy is in the house, don't overblast. You might ask, look, why are you listening to angry music? It's not good for your motivation, blah, blah, blah. Ladies should not listen to this kind of music, all those sorts of things. So wait, when Popsy leaves the house, or, just put on your headphones and enjoy some good hip hop from the 1990s. So, like I said, he used to be in the bands before, should I say band? I'll be rap group called Ghetto Boys. But if you're spelling ghetto, don't put the H and then only put one T. So it's ghetto, Geto, Ghetto Boys. That's how they spell theirs. So Scarface, Ghetto Boys, enjoy. Then on Netflix, I currently don't have anything on the list at the moment, although I'm considering watching a Platform Part 2. I watched Part 1 and my wife was like, why are you watching all this rubbish now? See, people are stabbing themselves, they're cutting their heads, cannibalism, eating human flesh. throwing people down the pit. Like, what kind of rubbish is this? This movie is pointless, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, we had that kind of conversation. Because as far as my wife is concerned, my wife believes that there are some things that you should not be watching. That if you watch some kind of things at homes, you open the portal to your house and you open the room for demons to start coming into your home. And sometimes I tell her, like, look, babe, be coming down. It's not that spiritual. It's just gore. It's not as if anything that a demon is not going to enter into our living room because of this. So it's platform part one. Part two is that I don't know what part two is going to be about, but part one was kind of like dystopian. There's the future. There's a kind of prison, and people move up or down certain levels depending on how much you decide to share for the people behind you. It's like a sick social experiment, I must admit. But basically, it tests how what's the word? How selfish or selfless people are willing to be. So, in other words, if the platform comes down and you take small food and you leave for other people to eat, then all of you will continue to eat. But if the platform comes and you rush all the food now, then you might not have a chance to eat food tomorrow. So it's one of those sick experiments. So it raises a number of important questions. How broken are human beings? How helpful are human beings? How selfish are human beings? How self-interested or how selfless can human beings be? If you're going to watch this from a Christian angle, there's the theological questions of original sin and the fall of man. Are we inherently sinful? What is it that we need to help us to move us to a higher point of grace? Those sorts of things. Can we achieve goodness by our own ends? So these are the kind of higher questions that are raised by the movie Platform. And so that's why I'm looking forward to watching Platform part two. But if you're married to a woman who believes, like my wife does, that depending on what you watch on TV, you can invite demons into your home, then please do not watch Platform. Or at least don't watch it when she's in the house. Or the other way around. If you're a woman and you're married to a man who believes that demons can enter through your home, through the TV, then don't watch it when your husband is around, or don't watch it, or maybe just sneak into the car and then watch it in the car. So if the demons come out, the demons will get trapped into the car, and the demons will get trapped into the house. Oh, by the way, I am not advocating for demon worship in any way. I'm just saying that this is an interesting movie. I enjoyed the part one. It's a hard watch. It's a brutal watch. And I'm looking forward to part two. So I'm considering watching that on the playlist. So that, so far, is what we have on the geek list. And so let's move on. So, I said today's episode is about looking at interesting statistics around entrepreneurship, hammering, becoming a big boy, becoming a big girl. Your container has landed, open doors, I'm a billionaire, God has done it, all those sorts of things. So when you pay attention to social media, there's this, everybody wants the whole thing of, like Wizkid, for instance. You're 18 years old, somebody discovers you, miracle, open doors, you blow. Next thing, you're with supermodels, thriving music career, blah, blah, blah. Or that whole Mark Zuckerberg thing of, you're 18 to 20 something, you have this idea, and then you get investments, and then next thing you just blow. And then you're the biggest billionaire on the block, and, on and on. And that's kind of a driving narrative that we have these days, behind business and entrepreneurship and those sorts of things, which is the reason why, for some of us now, as you're now entering that halfway mark of life, that's the reason why some of us will not be thinking, so I'm a fool at 40, or Jesus, I am finished at 50, or oh God, what am I going to do? I am senseless at 60, or all those midlife crisis or whatever that comes up. You're 40 or 50 or 60, you haven't blow, you haven't hammer, like, oh, am I finished? So those are some of the interesting statistics that we're going to look at today. Now, first off, we're going to look at Dr. Ola Brown. She's on LinkedIn, and it looks like she has a health-related fintech or something like that. I follow her, but she's not someone that I've really looked into stuff that she's about. So the first set of statistics you're going to find, the credit is you go and check her own page, and then you can check the references to see, whether these figures are accurate or not. But it sounds like stuff I've heard before, so that's the reason why I'm confidently saying it over here on the podcast. But to get the figures, if you want verified figures, go and check out Dr. Ola Brown on LinkedIn. Oh, by the way, Ola Brown, that's female. I know it sounds like a masculine name. So the first time I followed her and I saw the picture, I was like, is this thing correct? And then I clicked, I was like, oh, okay, she's a babe after all. And she's a very babyish babe at that, So all these, PhD holders that don't want to agree, that wear human hair, and like on the boys' end, for instance, PhD holder, and you're wearing what's it called, slim jeans and Nike sneakers and everything. I'm like, you professors, when I don't agree, you guys are supposed to be nerds. So if you're a doctor or you're a professor, dress like one and leave we normal guy men or guy babes to be in the world. You guys are supposed to be in the university tower. You're not supposed to be looking fly and all that. Okay, so Dr. Ola Brown, she's running some stats on billion-dollar companies. It looks to me like most of them are American companies, so take it with a pinch of salt. So I don't know if these kind of statistics would apply to Nigeria as well. Although in Nigeria we are severely bought into this whole thing of I start my fintech, I'm a young boy, I'm a young girl, 18 to 20 something, I raise millions of dollars, I hammer, blah, blah, blah. So that thing is currently going on right now, as at the date of this recording. That's what lots of people are buying into. But Dr. Ola Brown, based on the figures that she has, she shows that 4% of founders are dropouts. You know how everybody keeps saying Mark Zuckerberg, dropout. What's his name? Apple guy, dropout. And by the way, I sincerely contest these things. You cannot say that somebody dropped out of an advanced degree in Stanford or Harvard and you call that person a dropout. Meanwhile, you're in Obafemi Awolowo University. You just entered year one. You now want to drop out because you're looking at Zuckerberg. You're looking at what's his name? The Apple guy. You want to drop out. I beg. Anyway, but that's a topic for another day. Let me just stick with what Dr. Ola Brown says. So she says 4% of founders are dropouts. So let's just agree that yes, they are dropouts. And by the way, I don't think so. Dropping out of an advanced degree, that's not dropout. So let's agree, 4% are dropouts, no problem. But what about those who have university degrees? For the founders that have university degrees that founded billion-dollar companies, guess the amount that have university degrees. Guess the amount that went to school, that they started year one, and then they finished and they graduated, and they did, convocation. The answer is 96%. Yes, boys and girls, you heard it correctly. 4% of founders dropped out of school. Okay, no problem. But 96% of founders who have billion with a B dollar companies, not billion naira, billion-dollar companies, it is 96% of them went to uni and finished the degree. So those of you who are trying to drop out of UI, drop out of OAU, drop out of ABU, year 2, year whatever, you guys be calming down. This formula of drop out and become a billionaire, that's not the formula. In fact, looking at these figures, it's beginning to look like the formula is finish your degree, then you become a billion-dollar company. Then, of the 96% that finished their university degree, they started year 1, they finished year 4. 60% of those people have master's degree or above. So, people that have billion-dollar companies, not billion naira, 60% of them have master's degree or above. Then, 22% of those people have PhD, as in they have doctor to their name, Dr. So-and-so, and they're the founder of billion-dollar company. Can you guys see how this whole thing of I dropped out of school at 18, I dropped out of school of 22, I now had this brilliant idea. I hammered and I became a billionaire. Can you see how those people are actually outliers? And we should not be building our trajectory based on that. Because it happened for them, we should be thankful. We should thank God for their life. And we should say, God, as you have done it for Zuckerberg, please do it for me. But don't assume that that is the playbook, because 96% of billion-dollar companies, people who founded billion-dollar companies, 96% of them finished their university degree. 60% of those people not only finished, they went to go and get masters. 22% not only got masters, they went on to go and get PhD. It did not stop them from founding a billion-dollar company. We should stop assuming, especially in this part of the world. I hear about how A students don't go on to found companies, and who comes up with all this rubbish? Because somebody graduated first class does not mean the person is destined to be a teacher. You can also be a founder of a billion-naira company. So, the reason why I take these things real personal is because when I was a little boy, there was this guy. I can't remember his name. I think people call him like Chairman Mo or Chairman something. I can't remember. That's like his nickname. He's not Nigerian anyway. But he's really popular now. Okay, well, back in Obasanjo's time, he was popular because he had this good governance index. When Obasanjo became president, there was all this talk about Nigeria's ranking on Transparency International. Where do we rank when it comes to corruption? Where do we rank when it comes to human rights and blah, blah, blah. And so this chairman, I can't remember his name, came up with a good governance index, and it was nice to see where Nigeria ranked on the good governance index. But the thing is, I was always looking at chairman as per a PhD, because he was old and he was bald and he wore glasses and, he's a prof. So one day I found out that prof was a billionaire, and I said, how? How can prof be a billionaire? Because it didn't make sense to my small boy brain. Because as far as I knew, if you're old and you're bald and you have a PhD, you're supposed to be a broke lecturer somewhere. But lo and behold, he's old, bald. Well, I hope he's still alive. I should have gone and checked stuff before making this podcast episode. But anyway, you can be old, bald, PhD holder and be a billionaire. And he was, because he made his billions by starting a telecommunications company in this country. And that is how he hammered. So it's one of the reasons why I take it personal, because I was one of those young boys who assumed, when I was a small boy, that was my assumption, you have to drop out. It has to be something incredibly sexy, and not that you grow up, you lose all your hair, you get bald, you wear glasses, and then after your middle age, you start a telecoms company, and then you hammer, and then you become a billionaire, and then extremely wealthy, and then a voice to reckon with on the African continent. So there are lots of young boys and young girls who are thinking that way. So please, these are the stats again. 96% of people who founded billion-dollar companies, they finished their degree. Of that 96, 60%, they went on to go and do masters. 22% went to go and get PhD. This dropout thing, that's only 4%. So stop assuming that you have to drop out. I guess larger message I want to say is that, God can do it for you. If you drop out, it can happen. If you do PhD, it can happen. So that's with the figures from Dr. Ola Brown on LinkedIn. Check her out, follow her, see the good stuff that she's doing with her health-related fintech and stuff like that. She puts up real interesting stuff. Well, by the way, this is an example about why I keep saying that you all should be on LinkedIn if you're serious about career development and personal development and business development. Because on LinkedIn, see the quality of conversations that we're having on LinkedIn. Unlike Facebook, where it is what is reigning, Ngwongwo trend, or which one is better, Nigerian bom bom or Ghanaian bom bom, or Nigerian jollof rice or Ghanaian jollof rice, or you will not believe what happened. This man slapped his wife and her neck broke, and all these rubbish things now on Facebook. So this is the reason why you should be on LinkedIn, because you're not going to find these sorts of things on the other social media networks. So it's a much better place to spend your time. So the second bunch of numbers that we're going to run through, I give credit to Kola Onyeneyin. I know I definitely spelled that name. So Kola, Kola, and then the Onyeyin, that is Onyeyin. If I didn't know that Yoruba people have Onye, because all the Onye I know is either Onyenyechi or Onyeka, Onye, I know that as an Igbo thing. I didn't know that's a Yoruba thing. So, Kola Onyeneyi, also someone I follow on LinkedIn, is a fund and assets manager. And so he put up a bunch of statistics about, that deal with this whole thing of when to hammer, when is your container going to land, when is God's blessing going to show, when are you going to get your open doors, when will God do it for you, when will you move to the promised site, all those sorts of things. So his one was on the average age of billionaires. Now, Mr. Kola, if you dispute the figures, just follow Kola and then go and argue with him. But like I said, it sounds like stuff I've heard before, so that's the reason why I'm putting it out here. So according to Kola Onyeneyi, the average age of billionaires world over, oh, by the way, there are 3,194 billionaires world over. I was shocked because I didn't know that there were that many. I always assumed that to be a billionaire was kind of like an exclusive club. Maybe like there are, I don't know, a few hundred of you guys. I didn't know you guys are plenty, 3,194. So it's good. It's nice to know that the club is well, the club is big. So it means there's room for some of us to come and join you guys in the Billionaire Boys Club or Billionaire Girls Club. So the average age of billionaires is 66 years. So for those of you who are crying, I'm a fool at 40 or I'm finished at 50, it's not necessarily the case. There is still time. You can still hammer. It doesn't mean that you're going to be sacked at 60. So full at 40, let's ignore that. Finish at 50, let's ignore that. Satiated and sacked at 60, please don't talk like that. Let's be hopeful. There's still time. Then almost half of the billionaires, almost half of the 3,194, almost half of them are between the ages of 50 to 70. So please, those of you who are 40, not full at 40, post, on social media and stuff like that, you guys should stop that thing. So because you're 40, it doesn't mean you're finished. Because almost half of these 3,000 people are between the ages of 50 to 70. By the way, are you beginning to see how this whole thing of Zuckerberg, 18 to 20 something, wonderful idea, hammer, youngest billionaire in the world, can you see how that is not typical and you should stop modeling your life after that? If anything, the formula is beginning to look the other way around, like you go old small before you become a billionaire. So, let's move on. Now, more than half of the people, global billionaires, sorry, where was I? Yeah, almost half of them. Okay, between 50 and 70, we've shared that one. Then more than 40% of those people have clocked 70 and above. So, it is possible to say, hey, I'm 40. I am finished. I am a fool. Or I am 50. I'm 50. What's 50 again? Full at 40, finished at 50, satiated at 60. 70 is what? I have no idea. So it's possible that you can pass 40, 50, 60, and your container can still land. The door can still open. Showers of blessing can still fall. And you can still hammer. Because more than 40% of them are 70 years and above. But then there is the 10%, those who are below 50. That is the one that the media likes to pay attention to, those who are below 50. And for some reason, the media prefers to pay attention to the 20, the 18, 20, maybe 30-year-old. In fact, I think by the time you reach 30, the media think your story is not sexy enough, so they're not talking about it. So all those people that are below 50, only 18%. So a great deal of the people are above 40. So the summary, if you're not a billionaire dropout by 25, relax. There is hope. God can still do it. Just validate your business idea. Develop a strong selling framework around it. Try and scale your activities. Make sure you adopt best management practices, best accounting practices, best legal practices, best whatever practices. Pay attention to good fundamentals. And you should be fine. assuming that is what you want. Because there's some people who say, look, I don't want to be a billionaire. I just want a few 700 million and I'm all right. Like one time that I saw on the news that this guy, I can't remember the bank he used to work for, or rather the bank he founded, but the guy has 600 million naira assets that are being managed by his family office. So there are some people that say, look, that whole Dangote thing, it's not my thing. If I can just be like this guy and have a good 500M that we're managing on behalf of me and the family, I go do all right. So it depends on what it is that you are aiming for. So if those are your dreams, then they should put things in perspective. You don't have to be a billionaire dropout by 25. It can happen at any time, and it can happen in spite of your degree or because of your degree. So let's just relax, pay attention to the fundamentals, and do things one step at a time. And please, let's stop assuming that, okay, you've hit 40 and you're not balling yet. You now start to hyperventilate, and you now start to assume that time is against you and the race is at an end. The race is not necessarily at an end. So, of course, there are larger conversations about, what's the purpose of life, what's the end goal, and all these sorts of things. But that's stuff that we handle on a philosophy podcast or maybe on a religious podcast. But I'm just trying to say that time is not up. So if you do happen to come from a family like mine, where the first set of kids are already pushing 50, 55, maybe even one or two, are beginning to near that 60, don't give up. Don't look around and say, this whole set, all of us, we don't have one single billionaire. We're all failures. Don't look at it that way. It's not necessarily the case. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Please connect with me on LinkedIn and on WhatsApp. The phone number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234 for those of you who are not Nigerian. And the name to look for is Tavishima Ayede, the host of the show. Use the link, get the spelling of my name, highlight, copy, paste in LinkedIn. My face will pop up. I'm not looking as pretty as Dr. Ola Brown, and I'm not looking as spiffy as Kola or Nyenyi, but I'm not a bad looking fellow, and I'm also an interesting person to hang around as well. Just in case you haven't been convinced so far by my playlist, the geek list and the nerd list, I'm actually an interesting guy, a man of good taste, and we can be friends and have wonderful conversations, not just about business, but all other things, life and art related. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.